Hey gang, Jane here, welcome back. Today I've got something I know a lot of you have been waiting for. It's the Meadow Blossom half hexagon. This one's designed to work perfectly with the full Meadow Blossom hexagon, so if you've been planning a blanket, this is the missing piece you've been needing. I'll be using this half hexie in my upcoming full blanket project, and I'll also be showing you a join as you go method to put it all together, so stay tuned for that. This version is worked in my calm blues and greens, unlike the nice bright colors that I did the full hexagon in. I'm using Misty Blue and Laurel, both by Impeccable from Michaels, and I'm using white from Lion Brand's Pound of Love for that nice bright flower pop in the center this time. Just 3 colors, keeping it clean and soft. This pattern has 7 rows to match the 7 rounds of the original hexagon. The difference being that this piece is worked in rows as opposed to rounds. For the most part, it will always be worked from the right or front side of the work, and each row starts on the same edge of the half hexagon and ends on its opposite edge. So in addition to your colors of yarn, you're going to need a 5mm crochet hook or whatever works for you for the yarn that you're using. I'm going to be using a 5mm crochet hook, as I always do with my worsted weight. You'll also need a darning needle to darn those ends in, we do them as we go, and a pair of scissors. Before we get started, just a quick heads up. While working on this tutorial, I ended up playing around a bit with how I started and ended the rows. I've been so used to working in the round these days that I kind of forgot how different things can be when you're working in rows instead. So as the tutorial goes on, you'll see me testing out a few different ideas on how to work the first and last stitches of the rows, and kind of discussing how that plays out. I kept it all in because that's really how we learn, by experimenting, seeing what works, and being okay with changing things up along the way. I don't just want to teach you how to make a square, I want to help you build confidence to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them. Crochet isn't just about following a pattern, it's about exploring, discovering what works for you, and enjoying the process along the way. Okay, well, let's get going. Here I have a full hexagon with a half lying over top of it, so you can see how similar it is. When I take that off, you'll see that's the full and that's the half. And it fits on there perfectly. So when I go to do my blanket, I'll be joining it like this. And the last 2 rounds are going to be the same color. Unlike the brights one that I did where I changed the color every single round, these 2 rounds are going to be the same. So in this case, I'll be working them back and forth in rows. For round 1, we'll be using Misty Blue. We're going to start with our magic ring, and then we're going to go right into working these double crochets. If you'd rather not do the magic ring, you can start with a chain 3 and slip stitch to join. That creates a beginning ring that you can work into. This will work just as well. It's just another way to do it. I start with a magic ring, so I lay my yarn across my hand with the cut end facing me, hold on to it with my thumb and finger, wrap it around my first 2 fingers, underneath crossing over and holding it in place, and wrap it around my 3 fingers. So I take the hook and I go under the first strand and over the second, hooking it, pulling it through, and twisting it onto the hook. Then I reach over to the strand over my 3rd finger, I hook it, and I pull it through for my first chain 1 and to hold everything in place. Oops, didn't come through right there. There we go. So we're going to start round 1 with a chain 4. We have a chain 1 here already. Our 2nd chain, our 3rd chain, and our 4th chain. This represents our first double crochet. So the first 3 chains represent the double crochet, and then the 4th one is the chain 1 space. Now we want to work a double crochet into this ring. So wrapping the yarn around, insert into the ring, and complete a double crochet and a chain 1. So far we have the representative of our double crochet chain 1 and an actual double crochet chain 1. We want to work 4 more double crochets and separate them with chain 1s. So let's work on that. Another double crochet into your ring and a chain 1, double crochet into the ring, chain 1, another double crochet into the ring, chain 1. We want to have 6 total. So this counts as our first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have chain 1s in between each one. We're going to finish with a double crochet. We should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, here's my teaching moment. So at this point, I don't do a final chain 1 before I cut my yarn. I just will be cutting it off and darning it in. But as I figured out later on, ending with a chain 1 actually gives the final stitch a little more structure, and it makes it easier to find on the next row because, as you will see, I have trouble finding this stitch on the next row. So first teaching moment, a chain 1 at the end of your row before you cut your yarn really helps. We're going to cut our yarn and finish this off because we don't need this color again. So cut 3 to 4 inches and pull it through. Now we're going to take our ring and we're going to close it up, putting my thumb and my finger at the base of the last stitch, pull on that cut end and it cinches it up. You don't have to pull too tight because we can do that when we work it in. Just close it up. That's all you're looking to do. So now you can take a look at this final stitch and see how it could use another chain stitch, as the top of the stitch is going to get pulled in too tight when I darn in the end. An extra chain stitch would hold the top of the stitch in place better. So this is our first round, and I want to work my ends in as I go. So I take my darning needle and I put the end that we cut onto the darning needle, and I'm going to work that into the back, just like I do with my regular squares. So we go down into the next stitch and back up into that last stitch, and that gives it that nice little loop that kind of secures it nicely. And then I just go into the back loops and I'll go all the way across this row, and then I'll just kind of pull it out so it shapes properly. Now I'm okay with that because of the yarn that I use. I know it doesn't come out. You can turn around and go back because we have a smaller section here. And if you have a yarn that's slippy at all, or you don't trust that it's going to stay in place, I would turn the yarn around and go back again. Or you can go back here through the backs of the stitches, whatever works for you. I'm going to cut mine because I trust it. I know some of you are probably thinking that's way too short. It's funny, but it's never come out on me, so I'm good with that. Now I'm going to take the yarn that's in the center and I'm going to work that in. And I'm not going to do it too tight because we are going to want to work into the center at some point when we join the blanket. So I don't want to make that too tight. So I'm just going to keep going around the circle in this instance. So go into the backs and just keep going in a circle. And this time I'm going to turn it around and go in the opposite direction. The magic rings I'm a little more careful with because those I don't trust as much, although I've never had one fall out. And maybe one more time, because I am only working on a half circle here. So I've done that back and forth 3 times now, and I'm going to cut it. And there we have our first round. So looking at our half hexagon again, round 2, we're switching over to this nice light green color, and it's going to be simple single crochet chain 1s. So I have the right side of my work facing me. Right side, wrong side, some people call it front side, back side. But I want the right side facing me. I finished over here and I started over here. I'm going to go back to where I started and I'm going to join my green with a standing single crochet in the 3rd chain of this beginning chain 4. So going into that 3rd chain, wrap the yarn around my hook first, go into the 3rd chain and under the cut end at the back, and complete my single crochet. So now we have our light green color joined. I'm going to work my end in as I go. Chain 1, work a single crochet into this first chain space. Chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space. And I have a little knot here. There we go, just pop that out. Chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space. Chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space. Chain 1. Now there's a chain space here. I want a single crochet in that. These lovely little pieces can be awkward. Chain 1, and now you want to work a single crochet in the final double crochet. So we go, where is that final double crochet? So I've pulled the stitches back a bit because that's in the chain space, And there is a double crochet here. In fact, it's a little on the loose side there, but that's okay. This all works into the edge. And I've done my chain 1 here, so I want to work a single crochet into that stitch. And now you see if I'd done the chain 1 at the end of row 1, this would have been easier. It seems tight at the moment, but it lies nicely if you look for that stitch. If that stitch is really hard to find, you can work the single crochet into that chain space as well. It'll do the same thing, really, but I like to have it in the stitch, just like I did at the front here. So I will say that if you're having trouble finding these stitches, you can just work the single crochets in the first chain space, chain 1, and then work the second single crochet into that same chain space. What you're trying to do is just get the right number of stitches. So what we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 single crochets and 6 chain 1 spaces in between them, right? 1 in between each one. So that's our last stitch, and we want to fasten off. So I'm going to cut my yarn 3 to 4 inches and pull it through. Now I'm going to work that end in. Here is also where an extra chain 1 would give the stitch some structure before I cut the yarn off. So you can see in this image what it looks like if I did put a chain 1 there. So going forward, I catch on to this and I start doing it. The beginning of this half hexagon is often the hardest part because it's so small. There's not a lot you're working with here. So if you're not used to working with small pieces, it can feel finicky. So now I'm going to work this end in. I turn it so that I have the wrong side facing. That's easiest for me. I go down into the next stitch, and then I kind of come up into the stitch. Now, you're going to get pieces kind of waggling around because they're at the end. They're not being tacked down by anything. And as I darn things in, sometimes they stick up and get loose, but they're going to work into the edge of your work anyways. So don't get too worried about that. So I've gone all the way across here to darn this in. I'm going to cut it. You can turn around and go back if your yarn tends to be on the slippy side. And then this one I worked in all the way across, so I can cut that one. And let's look at the right side of our work. We have our first 2 rounds. Taking a look at our half hexagon, we're moving into the floral section. So these are the double crochet clusters, and we're going to be working them in white. So to anchor the petals, we start with a double crochet, or what represents a double crochet. So you can do one of 2 things. You can do a standing double crochet and a chain 1, or you can do a chain 4. It's really personal preference. So I'm going to do the standing double crochet, and I go into this first single crochet stitch. And I complete the standing double crochet, and then I do the chain 1. This could also be a chain 4. It does the same thing. Now I've worked into this first stitch. My first cluster is going to go into the chain space beside it. This is a full double crochet cluster. We don't need to do a beginning one here because this is how we started. This creates the edge that we're going to work into when we add it to a blanket. A double crochet cluster into this chain space right here. We start, and I'm going to be working my yarn in as I go, wrapping the yarn around the hook and insert into that space. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and leave these 2 on the hook. Yarn over into the chain space again, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, leaving 3 on the hook. And yarn over for our last one, insert into that same chain space, pull up a loop. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2. You now have 4 loops left on the hook. When I work my yarn in, I bring it up before I go through these last 4 loops. And you're going to go yarn over and pull through all 4. And there is your cluster. Chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Double crochet cluster in the next chain space. We do our first double crochet and leave the last 2 loops on the hook. Go to make a second double crochet, pull through 2, leaving 3 loops on the hook. And then one more time, and we pull through 2, leaving 4 loops on the hook. I'm going to bring my yarn up, yarn over, and pull through all 4. Second cluster is made. Chain 3, We have 1, 2, 3, 4 more clusters to go. We want 6 clusters total with chain 3s in between. So let's keep working on those. I have one more cluster to fit right in here. Believe it or not, there's a chain space there. And after this last cluster, we just chain 1. And now I want to work a double crochet to match this first double crochet up here. Now again, these stitches tend at the end to cluster over top of each other. So you can pull that back to find it, or you can just work it into that chain space because it's really not going to make a big difference in the long run. So I'm just going to work my double crochet into that same chain space. It's going to basically look the same. So if you're finding your stitches are tight, which apparently mine are, just work into the chain space. It'll work itself out. So now we're going to finish off this round. I'm going to chain 1 to hold that in place because I'm finding these stitches are tight. I think that's why that single crochet disappeared, because I didn't do a chain 1 to make it stand out. I literally just pulled the yarn through, and then that top of the single crochet kind of disappeared. Sometimes doing a chain 1 at the end just gives it a little more structure in a situation where you need a little more structure. So far we have our first 3 rounds of our half hexagon. I'll work this in the way I did all the others. I'll just turn it around and work it all the way around the back loops only, and then I'll cut off my ends. We can now do round 4. Looking at round number 4, we're going back to the green, the Laurel green. So we're mirroring this color here. And this will be where we shape the hexagon corners in. Taking our green, we're going to start with either a chain 3 or a standing double crochet, and we're going to work it. Technically, you work it into the top of this double crochet, but to make it easier, we're just going to go in that chain because it's going to work the same way. We want to work 3 double crochet into this first chain space. So I'm going to start with a standing double crochet. That's our first one. That could also be a chain 3 if that's easier for you. Then we work a second double crochet, working my yarn in as I go, and a third double crochet. And then a chain 1. So this is how we start. 3 double crochet and a chain 1. Next chain 3 space, we work 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2, and 3, and a chain 1. In the next chain 3 space, I want to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. That's going to be my first corner. So in here, I'm going to try to work that in as I go. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. And there's my first corner. Chain 1. Working across the top of our half hexagon, 3 double crochet in this next chain 3 space. 1, 2, and 3. chain 1. Now we're on to our next corner, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in this chain 3 space. That's 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. And a chain 1. So we have a corner here and we have a corner here. Coming down the other side, we want to do 3 double crochet in this chain 3 space. It's the last chain 3 space that we have. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. We have a chain 1 space here between the cluster and that final double crochet. We're going to work 3 double crochet into that. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to chain 1 this time before I cut my yarn. So there we have our shaped round. So I struggle myself with the fact that these things don't look the right shape while you're working them. It really frustrates me. I'm like, it doesn't look like a half hexagon, but it works out. I've done them over and over in different ways. I've added stitches in, I've taken stitches out, I've tried to make them even more similar. I've tried all sorts of things, and to be honest with you, this works the best in the end. So trust that the shape will work once you have it finished, even if it doesn't look the way you want as you go. They can be pretty finicky, especially at these edges. So I'm going to work this end in the same way as I did before, all the way through the back loops as far as I want to go here. Next, we're going to be working on round 5, and this is the beginning of our single crochet rounds. We're going back to white, and we're just going to be working single crochet chain 1s. This will establish the single crochets. We want to go back to the beginning of the last round. We're always starting at the beginning of the row before. So we always finish on the left and start on the right, and that's with the piece with the right side facing us or front side facing us. So we're always ending here and starting here until we get to the last round, but I'll show you that. So we're going to go back to this first stitch, and we're going to be working our first single crochet into that first stitch, the first double crochet. If you did a chain 3, then you're going to be working it into the third chain of that chain 3. So standing single crochet is what I do. Yarn around, insert into that first stitch under the 2 loops and under the cut end, and complete your single crochet. So we've now joined our white. We want to work a second single crochet into that same stitch. So go right back in again and work a second single crochet. Now we do a chain 1. Skip this next stitch right here and work into the third stitch and do a single crochet. Chain 1. Skip over the chain space and work into the first double crochet of the next grouping. Single crochet. Chain 1. Skip the next stitch, which is the center stitch of this grouping, and work into the third stitch. Single crochet. Chain 1. Skip this chain 1 space and work into the next double crochet, which is the first one of the corner. Chain 1. Skip the second double crochet of the corner, and in the corner work single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet right into that chain 2 space right there. We've worked up the first edge of our half hexagon. Now we're going to work across this edge. Chain 1, skip the first double crochet and work into the second double crochet, single crochet, chain 1. Skip the chain space, work into the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1. Skip the next stitch, working into the next stitch of a single crochet, chain 1. Skip over this chain space, work into the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1. Skip this last stitch here before the corner space, and then in the corner space work single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So we worked up our first edge and across our top. Now we're going to work down this final edge. chain 1, skip your first double crochet and work into the second one, single crochet, chain 1, all single crochets and chain 1s. Skip the next chain space, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1. Skip the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1. Skip the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1. Skip this second last stitch, and in the last stitch you're going to work 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and that completes your row. Do a chain 1 to keep that structure, and then cut your yarn 3 to 4 inches, pull it through, and we've completed that row. Now we've set up our single crochets. The next 2 rows will be simpler. Take this end and work it in the back loops only as far as you want to go, and then clip them off so you don't have all those hanging out. Then on round 6 and 7, we're using the blue. So what I'm going to show you here is we're going to start round 6 here. We're going to work all the way around on the right side as we've been doing. Then I'm going to turn the work, and we're going to be working back on the wrong side for round number 7. And that's so that I don't have to cut the yarn. If I was doing it in a different color than round 6, I would cut the yarn here, start another round of yarn here, and work on the right side just like I have before. So now we've got our blue and we're starting round 6. We come back to the right hand side with this right side facing us. We want to work a single crochet into this first single crochet stitch. The thing with these edge stitches is they can really tighten up, especially if you're doing standing single crochets. So try to be a little on the looser side, and it makes it a little easier to get into them. Standing single crochets are great because the stitch actually slopes down. It can make it harder to get into, especially on these edge stitches. In that case, if that's what you're finding, and I am finding that, sometimes it's better to go in, slip stitch, chain 1, and then work a single crochet. Like that. See how it now sits straight up top? That might be easier to get into. So let's try that this time. We're going to do the old-fashioned way of doing a chain 1 and then a single crochet. We don't mind that extra bulk when you're working this because you need this edge to work into later, and it makes it easier to get into the stitches. So I'm going to try that. Crochet is all about experimenting and doing whatever works for you. That's why we have so many different ways to do it, because it depends on what you're doing. So that's our first single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip over this stitch right here and work into the chain space, single crochet, chain 1. Now it gets easier. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. And single crochet in the next chain space, and chain 1. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and we've made it to the corner. In the corner, we're going to single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the same space. So remember, we're reducing our corners like we did in the main one. Instead of a chain 2, now it's a chain 1, but you still work the 2 single crochets in there. Now to work across the top edge, chain 1, single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the chain space. You're going to do that all the way across till we reach this corner. Always a chain 1 after every single crochet, and you're only working into the chain spaces. So when we get to the corner, we finish with the chain 1, single crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 1, and single crochet again into that chain 2 space. Let's take a look here. So across the edge you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets, 6 chain spaces, and you have the corners, so that doesn't count the corners. Your corners are single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Working down our final edge, chain 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1. Keep working that till we get down to that last stitch. So when you run out of chain spaces, you finished with a single crochet, chain 1, work a single crochet in that last stitch, chain 1, but we're not fastening off. We're going to keep going with this yarn. If I was going to do a different color on the final round, I would be fastening this off and starting back over here like I did before. If I'm working like the bright example, I did change colors every row. But in this blue-green example that I'll be working on for the blanket, I'm doing the last round in the same color as the round we're just working on. So I thought about this and I thought, how am I going to do that? Because everything else is on the right side. Do I want one row that's on the wrong side? Or do I cut the yarn and start again, even though it's the same color, which I really don't want more ends to work in? So I experimented with that and I found that the last row, it really doesn't show that it's going to be on the wrong side. And it saves me starting and cutting ends and all that other stuff. So this is what we're going to do. We finished round 6. I finished with a single crochet and a chain 1. We're going to turn our work. And we're going to work our way back around. It's the only round that I'm doing this on. So I've chained 1. And now I'm going to work a single crochet into that same stitch that we just worked on the row before. Chain 1, single crochet in the first chain space, chain 1, and we're ready to go. This is what we're going to do all the way around. So on this round, when we reach the corner, we won't be doing anything special. We'll just be single crocheting in it and moving on. So I'll show you when we get there. For now, single crochet in each of the chain spaces, followed by a chain 1. So I've reached my corner. I've worked single crochet, chain 1 all the way up here, ended with a chain 1. When I reach the corner, I do a single crochet in the corner, chain 1, and move on. If you followed the tutorial for the first hexagon, you'll know that I decrease the corners as I go so they don't flare out. This half hexie has to match that. So now that we've done our single crochet in that corner, we move on to the next chain space. There's a chain 1 in there as well, just so you know. Always chain 1s and chain 1. So the entire round is single crochet, chain 1. It's actually a row because it's not actually a round, but the entire row is that. We come up to where we worked our yarn in here because we're on the wrong side of our work, or the back side, as I know some of you will call it. And we went right around that corner just with a single crochet. And we're working down our final side. And once we've worked the last chain space, single crochet, chain 1, work a single crochet in that final stitch. I chain 1 for structure, and then I cut my yarn 3 to 4 inches. And I will darn that piece in, just like I have with the others. And remember, you're on the wrong side of your work. And that's a wrap on the Meadow Blossom half hexagon. I've popped in some close-ups so you can really see how those hexagon edges turn out. Even though that final row is worked from the wrong side, it blends in beautifully and you'd barely notice the difference from the full hexagon. I'll be using this half hexagon in my upcoming blanket pattern to give the sides a nice clean edge, and it works perfectly with my join as you go hexagon method. It's always so satisfying when everything fits together just right. If you're curious about how I play with color behind the scenes or want to dive deeper into some of my creative process, come and join me over on my Patreon. There's lots of extra fun happening over there. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.